Okay, for the last step on our project, using our warm and cool colors, we're going to be using a neutral. So you're going to have the choice of using either brown or black to paint your tree in. In the examples you saw on the Flipgrid page, those students had used black. I'm actually going to use brown and see how that looks. So I'm giving you permission to choose brown or black. This is pretty straightforward. I may talk a little bit about shading in your work, but for the most part, there's not a whole lot to this except going in and painting in that tree trunk as neatly as possible. I would recommend that you have more than one brush, so a larger brush and a smaller brush. And the reason is we have different sizes in our tree. So I'm going to start with the skinniest parts. I'm going to use one of my thinnest brushes to paint that area in. And I'm still going to be careful, even though I know that I put my crayon on pretty thickly. I'm still going to be careful about trying to stay inside the lines. Again, this is your choice whether you use black or brown. Either neutral is fine. I will post a photo of this completed piece on Flipgrid for you to see. So you can compare what they look like when the tree is brown and what it looks like when the tree. Turning my page. You know, I do not always keep my work oriented in one single direction when I'm drawing or when I'm painting. So feel free to move your paper around as needed. And both brown and black should be dark enough to cover up any little bits of paint that may have gotten into the branches of your trees. So you can see here, I flipped my page upside down, so I have a better angle for these. So I'm going to be pretty thoughtful on my tree about how fast I work, the size of my brushes, the direction of my brush strokes. Make sure if you rest your hand on your paper that you're resting it on an area that is dry and that your hand is not wet. If you choose to do brown, or even if you're using black, you want to make sure you don't have too much water on your brush. Clearly your brush needs to be wet because this is watercolor. But if you are using too much water on your brush, you're going to get a really pale color, like a pale brown or a pale black. And we really want the color to be very saturated for this, so nice and dark. Flip my paper again. Okay, so now that I'm getting to the wider part of the tree, I'm going to go ahead and switch my brush to a larger brush for this section. Now my larger brush does hold a lot more water, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful about how much water I have on my brush, because you'll see that the color is much lighter right now because there was more water in this large brush. I want you to notice that I'm always gentle with my brush. I'm never pressing it down and making the bristles look like a little fan. Always very gentle. Imagine you're petting a little puppy dog with your brush. Very gentle. I'm going to try to go right up to the edge of that crayon without going into my other. So you can see that when I use less water on my brush, the brown is a much darker brown. Now if you're shifting your paper around and you have wet paint, you want to use your paper towel to wipe that off. And then I am going to go back in with that tiny brush, maybe just create some shading effects, maybe darken some areas up. So really not a lot of water on this brush. I'm just going to come down one side. So what I'm doing there is just layering on the same exact color, but with a lot less water. Okay, so when you feel like you're done, you're going to set that aside to dry, and once it's dry, you're going to photograph your work and you're going to post it to Flipgrid. And I can't wait to see what you've created.